This is Hidden Killers Live with Tony Bruschi, Stacey Cole, and Todd Michaels.
We're talking about what's going on right now with, call it a cover-up, call it a conspiracy, whatever you want to call it, the inaction, basically, of the Department of Justice as of right now, not diving in, not investigating, basically taking all of the information that we have recently learned in that letter from Congress to Pam Bondi, stating, you had 50 witnesses, you got an investigation into 20 co-conspirators, people who were working with Epstein, being basically, the customers as well of Epstein, and these 50 witnesses, and them saying, nope, there's nothing here, nothing to see. They're all not credible. Never mind the fact it's what put Ghislaine Maxwell away. Never mind the fact it's what was the inspiration for stripping Prince Andrew of all of his titles of being in the royal family. So clearly, there's some legs to this information, and the fact that the FBI and the DOJ is saying we're not going to touch that right now, for no explanation. Despite it being a massive promise to the public as a whole, to the people they serve, that we are going to dig into this, we are going to dive, and we are going to expose whoever needs to be exposed. Party be damned, we're going to do the right thing. And now when it's their turn to shine, when the spotlight is on them, they're like, nothing to see here. Turns out that it's all a big myth.
You know why?
Damn well it's not. Why?
I think having read that exquisite book by the brave Guffrey,
Giuffre, Virginia Giuffre,
Nobody's Girl. When you saw and get an understanding of Epstein's non-political corruption of everyone he touched. Yeah, I think when all these people came out with these they were assuming, they were hardcore thinking, most likely in their brains, it's got to be them. It's not our party, it's them. And then when they got into office, then when they're actually reading the files, then we're listening to the accounts of these. I think how many girls did they finally identify total? I mean, there's like 200, I think, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they saw it's not just one party, it's not just one academic institution. Yeah. It is everyone at this time. Everyone. It touches all of these narcissistic megalomaniac asses at this high level, so that if they expose one, this entire network that Epstein created, this monster factory, is going to undermine everything and everyone. That's why I think they're not exposing it, because everyone's going down with it.
And that's the reality of it too. It's not, and it's not just that this is a big house of cards, and it's just only their trail of destruction with abusing these women. These people are placed in the house of cards of every piece of our lives, of every institution in our country. Yeah. And when you essentially put dynamite in all these different spots and then press the button and it all blows up, you destruct the building and everything with it. And then everyone's like, whoa, how do we fix all these holes around here? I mean, so many things will be affected by this if this information comes out and if these people are exposed, because they're key people in key places in all sorts of key parts of life in areas that no one is seeing coming as being suddenly gone, and what sort of damage it will do. It's going to be catastrophic, but it needs to be done. Otherwise, it's just, well, let's keep this pattern going. Let's keep them bringing in more folks who are going to think the same way and keep abusing people in the same patterns that have been going on before. But it feels that I feel like for so long the fear has been, well, taking them all out, is it worth the damage that it will do to so many things? And I feel at this point, the American people are saying, yeah, we've been through enough shit. We've been traumatized enough by all this stuff. What's another societal trauma at this point? If it's going to at least take out a good chunk of these people that are still active. These aren't historical figures that are hiding away. They're still very active in every piece of our world today. And yeah, it's time to call them out. But again, You have those people in all these different places. That's precisely why there's this level of power where they're basically telling us the sky is not blue and expecting us to believe it.
And to Duncan's question about why haven't these girls actually named them, in Jenna's book, even though Jenna came out in Nobody's Girl and named a lot of them, she said even in her death, she was afraid to expose some of these people because of the impact it could have on their families, on her legacy, on their livelihood, on their lives. The fear factor is immense. And, and as you're describing that, Tony, I was going back to, other cases we've covered and the differences in them. So let's take a look at the Diddy case.
Yeah.
Diddy is very similar in a sense of we had trafficking, we had sexual abuse, some potentially minors in there. And yet Diddy was more like, if you're thinking of I think of these things and these people as cancers, right? Diddy was more like a prostate cancer. He's something that you could isolate, you could radiate it, and you could remove it. But this thing like Epstein, since it was so encompassing, it's more like lymphatic cancer.
It's everywhere.
There's no way to capture it all. I think it is so widespread because he knew how to protect himself. Yeah. He knew how to, and that's why he acted so brazenly. Him and Ghislaine as well were so brazen what they're doing, acting with total impunity with everyone and everything because they captured everyone in every single circle, both sides, so no one could play one side against the other. He was the master of manipulating the entire world and corrupting them to his way of thinking. He attempted to normalize this behavior with people that didn't even want it. Because when you listen to Jenna's book, he was throwing these young girls at guys in their 80s that were even impotent in the rooms. And you can imagine that these guys were told, hey, I got a really good young girl up here. She's great at giving massages. And the guy's like, really? That's kind of odd. Okay, I'll get a massage. And the girls are then being instructed to go service them like you service me, like you service so-and-so. And these guys are like, what? And all of a sudden they're compromised because they had a little bit of inkling, that a little bit of creepy in them, and wham, he's got them.
Yeah. Stacey, what are we looking at in the comments for right now?
A lot of great stuff. Alicia says humans are complicated. As Robin said, they are motivated by many different factors. Candy says, name all the names. Name them. And that was something I was going to ask. Again, there seems to be this cloud of fear. People know the names and nobody's talking. You talked about loose lips, that people who've left the Bureau, left the DOJ, they have to know these names. But people are not talking. There is something terrifying the living crap out of these people. What is it?
I think they just don't want to, first of all, they don't want to be associated with it because it'll destroy their personal brands. And if you even put think about it, if you even put your name in any way next to the Epstein name, you're going to be blacklisted and rightfully so. And Jenna even talked about this in her book. And one of the challenges they had is that there's a lot of people associated with Epstein that traveled to his island, that went to the parties, kind of like the Diddy. I mean, think about it with the Diddy parties.
Yeah.
You had the Diddy parties, and then you had the white party afterwards. Then you had when everyone was sent home. So here's the challenge with investigating this is that, all right, who was just associated with Epstein and who was really with Epstein? And so that becomes part of it. And so it's hard because there's not a lot of facts and data and details to differentiate the two between. And so if you're anywhere affiliated with it, whether you're just going to shut up silently either way, because again, whether it's true or not, remember for years there was lots of strange, really horrific coincidences of people that ever had anything to say about the Clintons all of a sudden wound up committing suicide and being dead.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think a lot of people have a lot of fear over what's going to happen to me if my name's even affiliated, if I'm even going to say anything, so the fear, again, humans are complicated-ish, but we are all motivated by fear. But what fear looks like to each of us is what is different. And so that's why they're all living in fear. I guarantee it's fear.
And Gen Z says it's not about politics, but there are a lot of politicians involved. And I think that comment, that struck me. I think you're right. I think there's a lot of people.
It's all over.
It is all over. But I think there's a lot of politicians, both sides, that they put on the brakes right now. Like, oh, crap.
The thing that was really more striking too was the amount of academic institutions, like high level presidents of universities, researchers, and so because what Epstein would do is he would fund research, because he'd be like funding this research, he'd be funding this at Harvard University, he'd be funding this out in somewhere at a tech out in California. And so he would fund these research projects. He'd fund these individual researchers themselves and invite them to the island, then throw the great massages at them. And so he was able to get himself entrenched in all these different things and all these different people at the highest levels across the spectrum. Mm-hmm. So we have companies, corporations, academic institutions, and politicians, all at the high level. That's why this network is so intertwined. You're seeing that level of caste system, really, of them being all potentially taken down, because he was interweaving everyone together. For what purpose was he doing it? Make himself safe, because no one's going to take me down, because if you take me down, you're all going down.
Wow.
How do you think some of these folks are handling this right now? Do you think there is intrinsic fear going on with some of these folks at this moment in time, seeing as close, I don't know how close we truly are to any of this information coming out. It feels like we're closer than we have been in the past. Maybe not. Do you think that there is a level of fear with them right now that, oh gosh, this could be exposed? Or are they sitting pretty tight right now, still going, yeah, nothing's going to take me down. It hasn't happened yet. Why would it happen now?
I think everyone feels good until they don't. Because I think what people in desperate situations will align the universe and world around them to feel secure in the moment. And then they breathe a sigh of relief. All right, so we got Bondi to do this, or we got Patel to do this, or the FBI is doing this or not doing this. And so they're able to kind of maneuver themselves into, I'm good. Then all of a sudden, you get one thing that happens, like, the Crown removes the prince status from someone, or a letter comes in from a congressman, and then they go into hyper mode again. So the thing to always watch, again, we don't have this optic because we're not, at that level of behind the scenes, is when a new thing breaks, when a new letter comes in from Congress, when a new public outcry happens, who starts trembling? What tremors in the force you see. So because again, what I do as a behaviorist is you look for deviations from patterns, from life arcs and norms. And anytime you see someone deviate from a behavior spike, something happened there to create a behavior spike. And so what I would be doing if I had the capability, because I don't see behind the scenes, no magic eyes, but I'd be taking this big 50,000 foot optic. And so when a letter from Raskin comes in, something like that comes in, what I want to see is, who all of a sudden starts changing their behavior? Mm-hmm. Who starts scrambling a little bit? Because that's where you then want to pay attention. Is like, someone's got a little bit of a stress attitude here, stress reaction. So what's causing it? Could be a bad day, but it could have been this. And so I'm always kind of looking for deviations from baselines. That's the only really thing you could do.
And that's what I'm wondering about right now with what we saw with Prince Andrew in the UK in the last week or two, where they stripped him of what's left basically of his titles and such. Is that damage control? Is that preparing for what may be about to come? Or is it just damage control from the book? And it's like, well, there's even more negative stuff coming out about Andrew. Or is it like, this is going to get really bad again really quick, and we'd like to already have been out in front of this going, we've already disowned him weeks ago or months ago or whatever it may be. So the royal family doesn't have this big, smudge all over them. If and when these names start dropping and we learn even more about these web of soul rippers.
Yeah. I think, again, my conjecture on it is that when you have something like the book come out and it names him so explicitly in that book, he's got his lawsuits that he's settled for, that was enough for them to say, hey, there's more here. And also because now it's become very evident that there's a lot of sanctions issues going on. It could tie up a lot more people, and it could get a lot. There's a lot more dirt there than's even in the book. Yeah. And I think that's why they took that action, because there's no denying it now. Mm-hmm. And that's why if I was everyone else, I'd be scrambling. If you're involved in this, and that's why I think there's a lot of silence. See, that's why every time you see a letter coming in and it hits like this void, it's like a black hole. That's very telling. It's never just what people are doing that is telling; it's what they're not doing. Mm-hmm. And when you see a collective silence, that says a lot. As much as it is one person or two people screaming about something, that says something about them. But when you hear a collective silence and like a dull thud when something hits, you're like, ooh, that says a lot more about what everyone might know than what not. So
there's a lot that could very easily come out. I guess the other question I would have, and I'm interested in your perspective on, eventually they're going to have to seat the other congresswoman that will then give us the enough people to vote to have this information come out or have the Epstein files released. Who's to say what's going to be released is going to be of any sort of magnitude of information? I mean, what sort of powers does the DOJ have basically to redact pretty much everything and anything they want to, and it just becomes a document of words and names that are missing, and we're just left exactly where we are right now?
Yeah, that's probably what it will wind up being. I'd imagine because they have all the sealed, because like Dufresne, she had a lot of sealed documents from the the grand juries, and so a lot of them haven't been unsealed yet. So I imagine there's other girls, all the other girls gave those statements as well. Those are going to be the real. What I'd be really interested in is the girl statements. Because those are going to be the ground truth. Those are going to be the granular. Those are going to be the gritty. And those are going to be the ones you really want to talk to. But those are the ones that are the most fearful as well.
Robin, what about the statute of limitations? Are we running out of time? This was asked by Jennifer Nicholson in our chat a while back. I wanted to get to that.
Yeah, and it's a great question, again, because this isn't my violation. I worked, but when I was reading in the book, here the statute of limitations is a big problem in this thing because kind of a roundabout answer to that is the statute of limitations on these things is coming up. And what I found out by doing, and when we started covering this case, is the statute of limitations is such a small period of time. Meanwhile, women typically don't report these types of things until they hit their 40s. Because of that fear factor, because of working through the trauma, because they feel like it was their fault, because of the way that the groomers made them feel. And so that's why the statute of limitations a lot of times runs out on these things before they make the claims. And then they can start claiming things like false memories. And it's just, she said, she was willing, she's getting money for this. I mean, they're using all the standard tricks to re-victimize the girls on these things. So statute of limitations is definitely not on the victim side on this. This whole thing, the whole law system, the legal system needs to be revamped when it comes to this. Because I learned an awful lot, because we talk about on the show a lot the false memories that people will have over time. But when it comes to girls that have been abused like this, what happens to their memories is false memories and inaccurate memories can happen when it comes to timelines, when it happens to places and people, not people, places potentially. But when it comes to the individuals themselves, the most accurate is them. Because as Jenna said, when you have a 200 or 300 pound beast on top of you, inches from your face, you never forget that face.
Never. So
they're the ones that you really want to talk to on this. They're the only ones I would trust. Seriously, out of all this, I mean, I won't trust anything coming out of what the government says. I don't know how you make the girls, Nick, I don't know how you inspire the girls to feel safe to share the details of who they were with.
Because Virginia is just one of them, and there's so many more. But they have an interest in continuing their own lives. They have their own futures. They have their own families. They have their own world that they have, if they're still alive. Doesn't necessarily want to revolve around this horrible trauma of their past. But aside from them coming out and telling their stories, I don't know that anyone ever will. And I don't know that we're ever going to get to the bottom of it until all of this round of abusers that we're talking about here are dead and gone. And then they've essentially won because they got to live their life and get away with it. And it's become some sort of historical detail of these monstrous characters that once roamed the earth.
And that's why I call them soul rippers.
I'm sorry, Robin. We're sending such a horrific message to survivors of assault. We're saying we don't care about your story. We're saying you're lying. You're making it up. And then there's this other narrative of you've got to tell your story. You have to speak up for yourself. So it's like just this thunderstorm just crashing against each other, and just none of it makes any sense. It needs
to be safe for them to tell their stories.
Exactly.
That's what we need is an environment where that
structure
exists.
around you. You know, Jenna talked about, that's why this book is such an important book. She talked about it so perfectly and beautifully in the book. I get so misty when I think about her in that book. She talked about, she wanted to, and she became an advocate for victims like her, but it came at a cost because she was re-traumatized every time she told the story, and she's trying to be just a mother and a wife, and she's trying to be the best at, but every time she's re-traumatized by this, it affected her family. Then the other thing is she was, as she said in her own words, she was unemployable because no one wanted to hire, in her mind, someone that was sex trafficked. And no one wanted to hire someone that was such a public figure. And so she had to she had to take settlements because she had to provide for her family who was unemployable. I mean, it's just, when you she allowed you to walk a mile in her shoes to get that deep, active empathy, to understand what goes on and what courage it takes, not just for her, but a team around her to stand with her, to fight the monster machine that Epstein created and all these other monsters create, because they know the system. So, I mean, think about it. So here's Epstein. He's got the most powerful lawyers in the world that know the legal system better than anyone else. They know the loopholes. They know the statute of limitations. And you combine that with their predatory grooming techniques. They know how to victimize so effectively that he operated with impunity. He's throwing little girls at anyone he wanted to without any fear, because and then Ghislaine Maxwell was doing the same thing. All she had to do was recruit one girl, and she then had that girl recruit all the other girls. It's not me, it's all the other girls. And then when they give them money in exchange, well, they're just money hungry. They're money grubbers. I mean, oh my God. Yeah. That's why that's why I use that word soul ripper, because these are not humans. They don't even resonate with the same species in my mind.
Yeah. They know how to work this in such an intricate, monstrous way that it is truly shocking. It's like, how are you processing anything? And this is how it comes out. There's so many questions, and we'll keep covering it. We'll keep seeing what happens here. As of this recording, on that letter that was sent to Bondi, they're demanding by the 10th that, an answer is given. And, as we've seen already from Bondi, super mature answers like your mother and things like that coming out.
That's a whole other thing.
Essentially, we're dealing with 5-year-olds running the government. I'm
the glass half full. I'm very positive about everything in the world. And here's the good news. Good news is this. Good news is shows like ours. There's a lot of people covering this, and a lot of people holding people accountable in ways they couldn't be held accountable before. Yeah. When Epstein started his monster factory, he had no idea that ever in the history of our species that these types of shows would be out there to force him to be compliant, to force the world to and allow these girls to feel safe to come forward. The more this happens, the better, because all the girls that, even the girls were afraid to talk to each other. Jenna talked about that in the book. They're afraid to talk to each other. When they finally got together, she was holding a retreat from them all to get together. COVID shut it down before it actually happened. But it was just, they were afraid to even talk to each other. That's the fear they had. They couldn't even bond for a long time until they actually finally could, because the shame that they're made to feel. And that's how these horrendous soul rippers do it. God, anyway, I digressed again.
It's okay.
Your thoughts in the comments section. Everybody put it there. We'd love to hear it. Robin's latest book, Unbreakable Alliances. Go check it out wherever books are sold. And press subscribe. as well. I'm going to go bathe in Purell again. I feel like every time we get into this one. But it's an important one, and I'm glad we can have these conversations, and this continues to need to be exposed. And if you feel the same need, share this so other people can hear about it, because I think that's half of it. A lot of people, they don't realize the depth of what the hell has been going on. So please do that. Until next time, for Robin, for Todd, for Stacy, I'm Tony Bruschi. We'll talk again real soon.
Want more on this case and others? Then press subscribe now and don't miss a moment of true crime coverage from Tony Bruschi and the Hidden Killers podcast.